I achieved financial freedom twice in my life. Why twice? Because I screwed up the first time. What are those lessons? I'm going to show you how you can actually create financial freedom for yourself right now. It's been many times that people have asked me, how did you retire twice? How did you become financially independent twice or financially free twice? Well, it's because I screwed up the first time. And so I want to give you my lessons, not just what got me there the first time, but what actually got me to replicate it twice so that it's actually not accidental, but it's actually reality and how you can apply it in your life too. So let me take you back in my story. So in my story, I started out as a traditional financial advisor. I was telling people to save everything, spend nothing, save it forever. Hopefully someday you'll have something when you save in those dumb mutual funds and whatnot, right? And so I was telling people to do all that kind of thing for 4 years. Now, 4 years in, I sat down with my dad, my dad was like the penny pinching, cheap son of a gun saver, right? He was the guy that was always just, doing everything possible to save money. I mean, buy cereal in bulk so that I hate Cap'n Crunch for the rest of my life because I had it for a year straight. I hate Fruity Cocoa Pebbles too. Those things all suck too because I had too much of it, all because it was on sale. My dad was trying to save every penny he could. He should be the role model of financial freedom for financial advisors. Yet when I sat down with him for the very first time and I looked at all his finances and I said, Dad, here's the deal. You've saved money in your 401k. You've paid off all your debt, including your house. You're 100% debt-free. You are living my financial advisor dream. And yet, even though you're 61 years old, if you want to retire today, you're going to have to die in 5 or 6 years because you're going to run out of money. Now, the sad thing is I didn't have a good answer for him. Even when he said, well, what else can I do? I don't know, Dad. I can't throw you in different things and hope that's going to work out because I can't control the stock market. And that's when I knew there was a problem. And so that set me on a journey, on a path of trying to find where is real financial freedom? Where can you actually find it? And for me, what I found was when I started to see people look at their real lives and look at evidence of people's lives, what they're really doing, it was in real estate investing. They were actually really creating real wealth doing real estate. And so I started to go down that path because I realized it wasn't just our clients, financial advisors' clients that weren't able to retire, even financial advisors in my own office. Been working there since the 1970s. They couldn't even retire themselves. They're like freaking barely able to move around the office, yet they can't retire because it didn't work for them. And so I started to go down that different path. I started to look at things like real estate investing and more passive income, much like the things you hear about in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but it doesn't really tell you how to do it. And so I started to learn how to do it. Now, I started out being an active real estate investor and I started to do some of those things too. I even was a passive investor with some of my money. I could lend out my money and do things with it. And the next thing you know, later that next year when I was 28 years old, I was able to retire that first time. Now, of course, that's the thing. The story's not over yet, right? Because it was just the year or so after that, the recession started to hit. I got a little bit lazy with my investing. I started to take and gamble with big risks. I thought, well, might as well just keep going bigger and bigger. And naturally, the bigger the ego and the pride, the bigger the fall. And so I went from millionaire to upside down millionaire by 2008. And I had to figure out how to dig out of that hole. I didn't file for bankruptcy, but man, it would have been easier if I did. To be able to wipe that slate clean of all that debt would have been awesome. But no, I had to negotiate it. I had to figure out ways to pay it off. And by the way, during the meantime, part of the reason why I went to debt, or not just $1 million of debt, it wasn't because I was just spending all my money. This is because one, the real estate market was tanking. And then two, I decided to start a brand new business in 2007 where we were marketing to real estate investors. So when those guys couldn't pay us, we still had bills to pay, people's payrolls to pay and everything else. We're sinking, we're going the hole there. Plus I was going the hole at home because I decided to cut off all my income streams to go do that one thing. And that's one of the biggest mistakes and lessons I got out of this is one, first and foremost, you need multiple streams of income. Ideally passive income. I mean, it's good to have active income. That's the thing you should be focusing on to make more in. But then passive income is the thing you also want to have as well. The mistake I made is I started cutting those off saying, you know what, I'm just going to go all in, put all my chips into this one business. And now it wasn't diversified anymore. And so that was one big mistake. Second big mistake I made is that I didn't have enough cash savings. Understand that when I get a lot of clients that come consulting with us, we work with them one-on-one, try to help them create a game plan to become financially free, just like you're probably asking how to do right now. When we do that, some of them just say, how can we get all my money in and get it all invested and get out as fast as possible? But understand that a good offense needs a good defense. Tom Brady would not be the superstar he is today had it not been for having a good offensive line to protect him. Otherwise, he would never get that ball out and he would never be the guy you know today. You have to have that defense to go with the offense. That defense for you, which I also didn't have enough of during that period of time, was having a good, solid cash reserve. If you're a business owner, I recommend at least 12 months of expenses so that you have at least 1 year to cover you just in case. A year at home and at least a few months in your business too. Because who knows if we have another 2020 that happens and then all of a sudden you become non-essential and you have to shut down your business for a few months. You need to have cash. You gotta be liquid. That's why in 2020, I started telling people, get lean, get liquid, and get out, right? Like get lean with your money and make sure you're tracking your expenses. You don't have to live cheap. Don't live on rice and beans, but at least, or ramen noodles for that matter, but actually make sure you're a wise steward of your money, and then get liquid. Make sure you have liquid savings. And then when you have extra liquidity, then you can also use that money to get out to create passive streams of income. And so that's the same thing here, is that I had some cash reserves in the first recession, that previous recession, but I didn't have enough to weather for at least a year or so. And that created more stress, created more panic, I made worse decisions, and it just created this massive, just a pile of crud as a result of it. So that's where you want to make sure you're really, really careful. Now, the next thing as well, I mentioned like multiple streams of income. Make sure you have those cash reserves. Also, make sure that you're trying to go for base hits. See, one of the mistakes I made as well is I was trying to swing for the fences, right? I was trying to go for these big, high risk type investments. Now I go for very controlled risk investments. Notice I didn't say risk-free because there's no such thing, but controlled risk investments. For example, when I bought rental properties before, I would manage the property myself. I was a horrible property manager. If they didn't pay me on time, I would let it slide. I was not good at doing that. I was not good at picking good tenants. I was also trying to manage the property myself, which wasn't a good idea in general. And I also wasn't worried about cash flow. I thought, it's gonna appreciate, so who cares? Now I actually get somebody else to property manage for me, somebody who's willing to find good renters from the beginning and also hold their feet to the fire to make sure they actually do pay rent. Sure, we'll give some leniency, but we want to make sure that we actually just don't keep not getting paid. Like we have to make sure that happens, that there's always positive cash flow. So now I'm a passive investor. Rather than trying to be an active investor, I passively invest with other people that they do the work for me. Even if I lend my money to real estate investors making 10, 12+% a year, I'm lending them the money and then they pay me after they do the work. I want to make sure I get paid one way or the other. I want to make sure that my money works harder for me, so I don't have to work so hard for that money. And that's the way to do it. So if you don't just want financial independence, you want financial freedom even, of course, financial independence, you've got to get to the point where your expenses are covered by the passive investments, right? By the passive income coming in. But I'll tell you, financial freedom is a whole nother level. Financial freedom is when you're not slaving away each day. Financial freedom is when you have more than enough money, not just pay your bills, but to live the life that you want to live, to do what you want with whom you want, to do what you love with those you love. That's real financial freedom, and that's the difference. So now how do you actually do this, right? How do you achieve this financial freedom? Well, the best way to do it, and how I did it for myself, is I took my money and got it to work. Remember I said get the money out after I get liquid, get it out. The thing you have to start looking in your life is, where do I have money that I could get liquid? I can get in my control and then I can get it out to work for me. So for example, do you have savings just sitting around right now? Now beyond the emergency fund, right? You don't want to invest in the emergency fund. We keep that safe. We don't do anything with that. Yes, we can actually put the emergency fund in places that make better interest, like high yield savings accounts or even to life insurance, like infinite banking, which we talk about on this channel. By the way, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. And that as well, beyond that, the other money too, not just savings. What if you've got money market? What if you do have life insurance that has cash in there you didn't realize you could be using right now? What if you've got something like IRAs, like old 401ks, not current 401ks with an employer, but old ones? Could we be doing something with that to invest to make money right now in other places besides the stock market? What about equity in your house? What about, do you have other rental properties? Even though you have rental properties, are they paying you as well as they should? I had one client that had a rental property paying him, netting about $200 a month, but he had $700,000 of equity in it. That means he was making a 0.3% rate of return on his equity. So instead I said, let's liquidate that. Let's get it liquid, right? Let's sell that property, get the $700,000 out, invest it out more east, because he was investing in California, which is horrible. Western United States is horrible. He invested out east. He bought a bunch of properties with that, and just a few years later, he emailed me saying, Chris, I'm now up to $8,000 a month. Guys, that's like $100,000 a year that he's making profit on those properties versus $200 a month. That's the biggest thing, is how can we get it working harder? Do you have money that is not really doing the best they could be doing right now? Or even if it's growing, is it actually providing any income? I've had so many clients that say, hey, I've paid off debt, just like my dad did, right? I have now hundreds of thousands, if not millions saved up, and yet I get paid nothing from that. I'm just as broke, I'm just as trapped financially as I was before. Great, let's get that money to work for you instead. Just like I had a client, had $1 million, got to work for him. Instead of pulling out $30,000 a year like his financial advisor recommended, we got him making $100,000 a year. Doing the same, just having that money working harder in the real estate space. Now you can go and find those deals on Google and whatnot, but you're probably gonna find ways to get duped. So either you build your own network over the years to try to find the people to invest with, or you borrow somebody else's network, which is what a lot of our clients do with us. They borrow our network and say, who have you invested with? Doesn't mean we recommend it, but it does help people to say, let me narrow down some options and look at these people. I might still invest outside of it, but these might be the people I might trust. That's the best way to do it. So if you're kind of curious, how can I make this work for myself? Here's the first step. One is we got to figure out how much passive income is even possible in your situation right now. Go to moneyripples.com. There's actually a passive income calculator you can put your numbers into, and you can see pretty accurately how much passive income you could create in the next 12 months in your current situation. So go to moneyripples.com and do that today.